science from the Bombay University. Mr. Piramal also has a passion for wildlife photography. He has co-authored Light Has Come to Me, a book about management lessons inspired from the Bhagavad Gita, published by the Times Group. He has also written a dance opera, The Dance of Life, which premiered in Mumbai in 2004, with stories inspired by the history of Indian science, starring Mrinalini Sarabhai and Malika Sarabhai. He has been awarded the CEO of the Year Award by World Strategy Forum in 1999, Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year 2004 in the Healthcare and Life Sciences category, Kriyashil Global Achievers Award in 2010. Ajay Piramal has been nominated for the Forbes Philanthropy Awards 2013 in the Outstanding Philanthropist category.
Well, friends, please, sir, send the stage for you. Come. We would like to confer this award to Mr. Ajay Piramal. Swati ji, please join us here. Ranju, please come. And this says, RI District 3140 presents the Inspirational Business Leader Award to Shri Ajay Piramal in recognition of his outstanding entrepreneurial achievements at the WOW District Conference on this day today. Thank you so much for coming and accept this. Thank you. And friends, Swati is also in her own right somebody who's an outstanding human being and an outstanding service person. Thank you so much for coming here with us. Thank you. Sir, it's yours. I would just like to also present to you this certificate. This is, again, you're contributing towards the education of one child. Thank you so much for that. I know you're doing so many more, but this is from our side on your behalf. Can I have the photograph of the child who's going to be... Yes, okay. Maybe that's going to take some time. Thank you so much, sir. And the floor is yours. Come, I'll escort you there. Please.
The children are not there, so don't.
DG Ajay Gupta, all the past district governors, Rotary presidents, ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed honored to have been invited to speak today at what probably is the largest district conference ever held in the world, I understand. So I want to congratulate all of you on organizing such a mammoth scale of a conference. I was at first intrigued by the title of the conference, WOW DISCON 2015. And I was wondering the significance of this till when I really thought about it in depth, it made a lot of sense. Wisdom, opportunities lead to winners. So I thought I will try and speak today on how we can use WOW from whatever experiences I've had. Yesterday was Martyrs' Day, so let me begin with a story that was in Gandhiji's life. Gandhiji was just begun practice as a young lawyer in South Africa. And at that time, he had established a few principles on which he would do his practice. And one of which was that he would only represent a client who Gandhiji thought was in the right. And he made it clear to his clients that he would never speak anything which was untruth, even if it was to defend the client. And if his client also spoke something which was not the truth, Gandhiji would not defend him. So there was this case which his client was in the witness box in front of the magistrate when the client said something which Gandhiji knew was not the truth. So immediately in the middle of the case, he got up and told the magistrate that I want to withdraw from this case because my client is not saying the truth. Everybody was shocked and everybody thought that this person's practice is not going to go very far. But actually, what happened was that over time, Gandhiji's reputation spread amazingly fast amongst the judiciary, that here was one lawyer who would only speak the truth, who would only defend the truth. And therefore, invariably, most of the cases that he defended, Gandhiji defended, he won. And in fact, his practice grew. So, in other words, what sometimes you begin by feeling that you are going to be at a loss, actually over a period of time became a big benefit. And therefore, when we hear of the four-way test and Rotary, is it the truth? I think this is what Gandhiji was trying to say as well, that it is the truth, he would defend it, and he gained significantly out of it. So, the wisdom, you may say that this was Gandhi, and therefore it is difficult. There are not too many of us who can be like Gandhi, or none of us can be like Gandhi. That's true, but in a small way, we've also tried to practice some of this in our own group. And let me begin by giving you an example. In 1988, we entered into the pharmaceutical industry by acquiring a UK multinational in India called Nicholas Laboratories. We acquired the global brands of Nicholas to be sold in India. We had the rights to sell in India. So there were two conditions that were put with us when we bought this business. One is that we needed to have quality which was of international standards. And secondly, we had to see that we would not export any of these brands out of India. These were to be sold only in the Indian market. These two conditions meant that there was a short-term hit on our profitability. The high quality standards meant that our costs were higher than what our competition was doing. And the fact that we could not export, whereas every other Indian company was exporting, meant that a large market was not available to us. And therefore, we did suffer in the short term. But what happened in the long term? In the 90s, there were several multinationals who wanted to exit out of India. And who would they come to as the first port of call? It would be us. And therefore, We then acquired the businesses of Roche, Boehringer Mannheim, Ron Polanc, Hearst, ICI, and every big multinational that exited out of India, we got the first call. And we paid a price which was lower than what anybody else was giving. In fact, everybody else was giving a higher price than us, thereby just showing that our short-term loss, which we incurred when we did not export, actually we made up. And in 1988, we were ranked 48th in this industry. And in 2010, we jumped to rank 3. It's only because of the value. Therefore, as I said, values in the long run did pay off. Another wisdom that I have learned over time is that we need to have the courage to take tough decisions. In the Gita, it is said that the Lord highlights the qualities of a perfect man. And one of those qualities that he talks about is fearlessness, or the courage to take difficult and tough decisions. And does that help? I think it does. So, our family was in textiles for more than 100 years. But the textile industry was passing through very difficult times. Many of you who are in Mumbai may remember that there was a textile strike, which was in the early 80s, which crippled the industry. At that time, most people who are in the textile industry continued to remain there, but we took the courageous decision to move out of textiles into pharmaceuticals. And I think that changed the way our group was. A third wisdom that I have again learned from the Gita is that the Gita always tells us that we must focus on doing the right action. If you do the right action, the results will follow. Rather than focusing on the results, focus on doing what is right. This is sometimes early on I used to think it's very difficult to practice, and it is not what the modern world wants. Because here we all say, we've been taught, we've been learned, we read about it, that it is results that are important. That if we focus on the results, if we have that ambition, we have the results in mind, then you can perform. But in reality, if you think about it, it is really the action. If we focus and do the action well, then the result has to come. What is in our control is not the result. It is not in the result whether today you like my speech or not. I can't control that. What I can control is only how I speak or how I prepare to speak, or similarly in anything else that we do. And therefore, and this I found to be of great advantage to us. In 2010, we sold part of our pharmaceutical business, our domestic Indian business, to Abbott. This was a large value. It was 18,000 crores that we sold it for. Whilst we had agreed on the price, the subsequent legal discussions and the documentation and all took time, 3 or 4 months, which is a normal time under any such circumstances. And that was going on. During that period, the negotiators from the other side, Abbott, would constantly keep putting pressure on us, saying that if you don't agree on this, the deal is off. If you don't do this, this is off, and always threatening, we decided then that we will do what is right, and we will do the right action, and irrespective of the consequences, it doesn't matter to us. And that is what we conveyed to Abbott. And frankly, that was our biggest strength. The fact that we could go on focusing on what was right without worrying about the consequence made us stronger and made the deal better for us. So this I have seen repeatedly after that, that whenever you just focus on doing what is right, doing the actions, the results will follow. It's another wisdom that I have picked up is association with good people. Sangat, as we call it in our culture. I cannot emphasize how important it is for us to have association of the right people. Association, whether they are the right business advisors, they are on the board of directors, friends, whosoever it is the right people to be associated with, because that makes the difference. There is always a path, a slope which is slippery, and it is very easy for all of us to go on that. But we need somebody or the other to hold us back and to say that this is not right. And therefore, it is only association of good people that would help us do that. Sister Shivani spoke a lot about the Rotary motto of service before self. And I think it's such a big concept. Think of it. Today, it's said in the Hindus believe that you have to go through 1 million lives before to be born as a human being. And there must be something really special in us that not only are we human beings, we are born in the families that we were born in, that we were given an education that we got because of whatever education, our own intellect, and we've been able to rise to positions like where we are all today. So we are specially privileged, and it is our obligation that some of this privilege we share with people who are not as fortunate as we are. And therefore, this motto of Rotary is indeed a very important thing. The work that Rotary is doing, whether it's polio eradication, which is, I think, tremendous, or in health, or in education, is something which is really inspiring and which we need to continue to do, and to do more of it, because there is so much that has to be done in this country. So if we have this wisdom, what are the opportunities? And in opportunities, again, I want to relate to you a story of Panini. Panini is was the great grammarian. As you know, he was the one who founded the Sanskrit language, which people say is the most perfect of all languages. And this is a story of his life. When he was a young boy, he went to an astrologer or a palmist and showed his palm. And that's what the palmist said, that I don't see much of a learning line in yours, because that line is absent in your hand. And therefore, you are not going to be a great person in terms of learnings. Panini was determined also as a child. Therein, immediately, he took a knife and drew a line on his hand and said, now can you see it? And that is what he says, that opportunity is not something which just falls on the wayside. Opportunity is for us to make out And in this, one of the lessons that I have also learned is that sometimes what we may think as challenges, what we may think as very difficult times, actually is a way of God showing us another door for an opportunity. Let me explain to you what I mean. As I said, we were in textiles. It was going through a difficult time. And had we not gone through that challenging time, when we did not know what the future was even the next day, we would not have thought of entering into the pharmaceutical business. And we entered into it, and then we did well in it. Or I'll give you another example. We had a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in South Mumbai, in Tardeo. You know, to have a plant manufacturing pharmaceuticals in the heart of the city is really a dangerous proposition. If ever there is to be an explosion or any mishap, if you are surrounded by residential complexes, you can understand what the problems can be. So the costs were high, there was a safety issue, there was a quality issue. So this forced us to start thinking that how something which was loss-making, what can we do? We moved the plant out to a backward area and converted that plant into what was India's first shopping complex called Crossroads. So again, had it not been for the challenge, we would have never had this opportunity to build a new shopping complex, to get into a new industry of real estate development. And therefore, I always look that sometimes when the challenges are there, we may get overwhelmed by that. But let's keep in mind that always there is some other door opening for us for an opportunity. So if you have wisdom and opportunities, you are winners. And in this, I want to give you a quote from the Upanishads, which says what a winner could be. In it, it said, and I quote now, "You are what your deep driving desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. And as your deed is, so is your destiny." In other words, what it really says is that it is in our hands to make our own destiny. If we want to have the destiny of winners, we need to desire it, we need to will it. Once we will it, we need to act upon it, and then that can be a destiny for us. And I also want to, since I began with a story, I want to also end with another story. And that's when I see all of us Rotarians. I also belong to a family of Rotarians, let me say that. Both my brothers were Rotary presidents earlier on. I was in Rotary, Swati was in Rotary, and then because of whatever pressures of time, but still, we are still involved in Rotary. So this is the story, again, I'm going to give you from the Ramayana. The Lord Ram and his army of the monkeys and the bears was all assembled in Kanyakumari, and they wanted to build the bridge from Kanyakumari into Lanka so that they could go and rescue Sita. All the big animals, the monkeys, the bears were moving all the big boulders so that the bridge could be constructed. There was also some small squirrels who were there, and they were also feeling very upset that Lord Ram was upset seeing that Sita was not there. So they wanted to help out also. And that's when the squirrels were collecting small pieces of the sand and putting it in between the boulders. That's the time when one of the monkeys, the big monkeys, started making fun of the squirrel. That what can you do? Nothing will happen. And that's when actually Ram admonished the monkeys and said, and picked up the squirrel and said that each one has a role to play. And he took the squirrel in his hand, and on the squirrel's body, stroked the body of the squirrel with his hand. And that's why you find that the squirrel has 3 stripes. Those are the blessings of the Lord. But the lesson that the Lord wanted to communicate is that each one has a role to play, big or small, in building the bridge. Like each one of us here has a role to play in building Rotary and our country in the future. Thank you very much.
Friends, that was truly wow, the way he has built the whole story. Well, friends, he said something very pertinent, that challenges bring opportunities. And I think today we face a lot of challenges in our country. That, my friends, is an opportunity for us to serve. And all of us, each one of us in society, have something to contribute. Friends, thank you so much for this inspiring address. We really believe today, in our country, mostly people talk about taking shortcuts or taking shorter shortcuts to achieve something. But here is a man who believed that he should do everything the right way, and he has reached that position. I think that's a big lesson for all of us. Give him a big round of applause, my friends. Sir, but we are not going to let you go. We'll request you to kindly come back to the mic there, and I'll tell you why. I'll request Sunil Mehta from our club to kindly introduce this new technology which we are using, Pigeonhole, where all your questions are flashing here. All the questions are flashing here. We will not be able to take all the questions, so don't be disappointed. We're going to take the ones which get the highest number of votes. Sunil, yours.
Good morning, everybody. Please take out your mobile phones. Normally in conferences, we always request keep mobile phones on silent, put them away, put them off. Please take them out in your hands. Vijay, can I have that slide, the earlier slide? I would request you all to just log on, get onto your internet browser and just type pigeonhole.at and enter, and you will get that screen, and you have to just put the passcode as DISCON. The moment you press DISCON, you will get all the sessions. Press on the current session which is going on, and you can post a question like what you have seen earlier happening. The moment your question gets the maximum votes, that gets onto the top of the screen, and those are the kind of questions which people want more to be asked, and those are the ones we will be taking first and in sequence, hopefully, and due to paucity of time, we'll try and adjust and accommodate as many number of questions as possible. We encourage you to please keep on looking at your phones. You'll be able to read all the questions. And one more thing, the person who asks or the question that gets the maximum votes, if there is a name to that question on who has asked the question, you can add the name to the question. We will give you a prize, a surprise prize, which will be worth your asking that question as well. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, friends. Mr. Piramal, you can see the questions on the screen. We'll take the first question. Mr. Jay Toshniwal has asked, in the business of prescription pharma, how did you handle conflict between ethics and influencing doctors to prescribe your medicine brand?
I think the way to handle that is just to speak about the good qualities of your brand compared to anybody else. I think that's the only way. If you can keep on, we would keep on emphasizing on all the positives that our brand, our product was doing, the benefits of it, the quality, the reliability, and that's how, so in that sense, there was no conflict.
But sir, one supplementary to that, in today's day and age, we have seen many doctors practicing something which is not the highest of ethical standards. What do you have to say about that?
So I think this is true in almost everything that we do in our country or perhaps in the world. Why blame our country? There will be some black sheep, but on the other hand, there are some very outstanding doctors. I think, unfortunately, today, we only emphasize what is the negative, but there are so many others who are doing so much of human service. And I know so many of you Rotarian doctors are friends of mine and who are really dedicating their lives. So I think it's a mixture of both. Let's not only highlight the bad, but let's appreciate the good that many are doing.
Great, thank you. Okay, next question. Is it possible to be completely altruistic like Sister Shivani advised in today's competitive world?
I think what Sister Shivani has said is she should answer this, but I'm sure it is possible because it's always, you look at any time, everybody says this is the most difficult, most competitive time. But there are certain values which are eternal. They don't change. Nothing changes. Your service before self, it is not changed for thousands of years. I don't think that will change. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? These are not things which are going to change. So I think it's possible to do that.
Thank you, sir. Next question. How do you rate the level of ethics in the corporate world? And what needs to be done to improve the same?
I think we need to raise the level of ethics. Sometimes, every time when there is a politician, we criticize the politicians and then say that they are corrupt. Actually, but who makes them corrupt? It's all of us who are contributing to them, who are encouraging them, and really starting the corruption level. So why don't we begin with ourselves? I was just reading today that only 3% of Indians pay income tax. Is that a correct thing? I mean, so let's all of us begin by raising our level of ethics.
Okay, last question as we are racing against time. You are a big giver in your philanthropic deeds. Everybody knows that. Is it true that you receive many-fold of what you give?
I think so, you do. The way my own feeling is that you should do where, first of all, do philanthropy in those areas where you have a passion for. It doesn't matter whether healthcare is better or education is better or looking after a girl child is, wherever your passion is, if one does that. And if one involves oneself not only in terms of money, but in terms of time, which is what I like Rotary, because so many of you spend so much of time. I think then it gives you back many-fold, not only as personal satisfaction. I think these values go down with your children, with your families, and all of us can become better human beings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piramal. Let's give him a big hand.